Wind drove salt against the windows of the coastal compound like thrown gravel. Elena Voss stood at the edge of the terrace and let it sting her cheeks, refusing the shelter of the sliding glass doors behind her. The sea below roared with the kind of fury that erased footprints within seconds. She had chosen this assignment because it promised clarity. Truth was simple, she had always believed. It either survived the storm or it did not. Inside, the temperature never changed. The lighting glowed with artificial dusk no matter the hour. Elena's reflection moved across polished marble floors as she crossed the living space, the sound of her heels swallowed by the architecture. She had memorized the layout within her first day. Control began with knowing where the exits were. A voice reached her before she saw him. "You should not stand out there without a coat." Adrian Rourke did not raise his tone to be heard over the sea. He never raised his tone for anything. He stood near the far wall with a glass in his hand, watching her with the detached attention of someone observing a rare animal. The distance between them felt deliberate, calculated. "You knew I was there," she said. "I know most things that happen in my home." The words settled between them like an invitation and a warning. Elena felt the familiar spark of professional focus ignite. She had prepared questions, she had prepared evidence, she had prepared herself to dismantle him piece by piece. Yet something in the stillness of his posture made the room seem suddenly smaller. A gust rattled the terrace doors behind her. She turned to close them, only to find his hand already on the handle. He had crossed the space without sound. The proximity tightened her lungs. "You move quickly," she said. "I dislike wasted motion." His gaze did not drop from her face. It did not need to. Elena became aware of her own pulse, of the way it pressed against the thin skin of her throat. She took a step back, creating space that felt insufficient. He smiled then, not kindly, not cruelly, simply as if he had noted a fact. Later that night, she searched her hotel room for signs of intrusion. Drawers were shifted by half an inch. Her laptop screen glowed with a notification she did not remember opening. Panic fluttered in her chest before logic caught up. He had resources. He had surveillance. He had motive. "This is wrong," she told herself. But the article would be stronger with proximity. Evidence gathered from inside his world could not be disputed. She sat at the desk and continued her research until dawn bled through the curtains. Rain fell in silver sheets the next afternoon. Elena arrived at the compound to find a small crowd gathered near the gate. Cameras flashed, voices rose with ugly enthusiasm. Someone shouted her name. A headline had already appeared online, speculation about her methods, accusations about her integrity. Humiliation burned hot enough to blur her vision. A black umbrella appeared about her head. "Come," Adrian said. He guided her through the gate as security cleared a path. His hand rested lightly against her back, too light to be force, too firm to ignore. Inside, the doors sealed the chaos away like it had never existed. "You arranged this," she said once they were alone. "I arranged protection. Your reputation is fragile, mine is not." She should have left then. She should have recognized the trap closing around her. Instead, she allowed him to pour her a drink she did not want and sit across from him while thunder crawled across the sky. The story will expose him, she thought. This is temporary. Weeks passed, measured in interviews that felt more like interrogations. He learned her habits, her favorite cafe, the names of the colleagues she trusted. Each revelation was a thread he wove into a net she pretended not to see. One evening he placed a folder on the table between them. "Confidential," she said after glancing inside. "You cannot expect me to—" "I expect you to decide what matters more," he interrupted softly. Her hands trembled. The information would dismantle a source she had sworn to protect. Publishing it would secure her position within his world. Refusing would end the investigation before it truly began. "You are better than this," she told herself. Yet she heard her own voice agreeing to his terms. The words tasted like metal. City lights blurred through the windows of her apartment days later. Messages went unanswered. Invitations dried up. Editors she once relied upon began to treat her with careful distance. Adrian's influence moved through her life like a silent tide, shifting the shoreline without leaving visible tracks. "You are isolating me," she said during their next meeting. "I am simplifying your choices." He stood closer than usual, close enough to notice the faint scar near his jaw, pale against darker skin. She imagined the violence that had placed it there, imagined the control required to survive it. "I could destroy you," she whispered. "I know." His hand brushed hers, a test, a promise. She did not pull away. The night she helped him conceal evidence of financial misconduct, the sea lay strangely calm. Elena watched the files disappear into encrypted storage and felt something inside her shift. This was the line she had sworn never to cross. She had crossed it anyway. She expected triumph. Instead, she felt relief. Music drifted through the compound's lower hall days later. A private gathering filled the air with low conversation and expensive perfume. Elena moved through the crowd with a practiced smile, cataloging faces for later research. Her article still existed in fragments on her laptop. Truth still waited. Across the room, Adrian spoke with a woman whose elegance carried a brittle edge. Elena noticed the way his expression hardened when the woman laughed. Not anger, something colder. "She betrayed him," someone murmured beside Elena. "Years ago. He ended her career in a week." The woman turned then. Desperation flickered beneath perfect makeup. Elena understood suddenly that ruin could be executed with surgical precision. No raised voices, no visible blood. Her stomach lurched. Adrian met her gaze across the room. He knew she had witnessed the aftermath. He knew what she was learning about him. Later, she confronted him in the empty corridor. "You destroy people. I remove threats. That woman made her choices." His calmness sickened her. It fascinated her. The contradiction twisted through her like a blade. "I should publish everything," she said. "You should. I agree. If that is who you still are." Silence thickened. Elena realized she was shaking. A storm returned with brutal force that night. Windows shuddered under the assault. Power flickered once, twice, before emergency lighting filled the halls with ghostly illumination. Elena found him in the study, standing before a wall of glass that revealed nothing but black ocean. "This place is a fortress," she said. "It is also a prison." He turned toward her. For the first time she saw uncertainty shadow his features. It transformed him, made him human in a way that felt dangerous. "You are my weakness," he continued. "I dislike weaknesses." Her breath caught. The admission should have been a weapon she could wield. Instead, it settled into her chest with unexpected weight. "I never meant to matter to you," she said. "You were meant to ruin me." Lightning fractured the sky. For a moment the room glowed white as bone. Elena thought of the article waiting to be finished, thought of the career she could reclaim, thought of the woman at the party whose life had been dismantled with quiet efficiency. Then she stepped closer. His fingers closed around her wrist with instinctive strength. Pain flared before he loosened his grip, horror flashing across his face. "I could hurt you," he said. "You already have." She tilted her head, offering the vulnerable line of her throat. The gesture shocked them both. Trust and recklessness blurred into one irreversible choice. Their first kiss tasted like rain carried in from the storm. It held no tenderness, only hunger sharpened by fear. Elena felt the last fragments of her certainty dissolve beneath the intensity of his need. Afterward, they stood pressed together, listening to the sea rage against stone. "The story will end me," he murmured. "It will free me." She knew neither statement was entirely true. Morning arrived pale and unforgiving. Elena sat at the long dining table with her laptop open. Words assembled themselves beneath her fingers. Evidence, testimony, the culmination of months spent navigating his shadows. Adrian watched from the doorway without speaking. He had already accepted whatever verdict she delivered. Power meant nothing in the face of her decision. Wind carried the scent of salt through the room. Elena remembered the first day she had stood on the terrace, convinced that truth could survive any storm. She was no longer certain. Her hand hovered over the final key. Freedom waited on one side of the choice, him on the other. She closed the laptop. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Adrian exhaled slowly, as if he had been holding his breath for years. Elena rose from her chair and crossed the distance between them. The future remained uncertain. The cost already felt immense.